I've been harping on it for a while, and I got to stay consistent with my analysis when it comes to the Montreal Canadiens. I want the Montreal Canadiens to be aggressive this offseason. I always view this through a Habs fan's perspective, and at the end of the day, it makes sense for them to be aggressive. Now, again, they have some positions that they need to fill. They need to fill their center position for one, which is like, I just roll my eyes at that every single time I see it because it's a difficult situation to fix for any team. But I think they need a top 6 center, in my opinion. And they got to fill out a couple of things. This is one team that I'm going to be watching at the draft. I think that this year's draft, I hope I'm not disappointed and it's very conservative, but I hope it's very active at the draft. I hope the Canadiens are in there. I'm really interested what the Calgary Flames do as well. They have a couple of picks. I think that picks should be flying, picks should be going, and players should be getting moved. Right? That's what's up to me. Anyways, whatever. It's going to be really good. I don't want to blab on about this for too long, but one thing that I really love to see is Chris Johnson's trade board, but there's a couple surprises on there, and he's all but confirming the Canadiens are going to be very aggressive this offseason. Chris Johnson right now has it actually at number 8 in terms of trade bait stuff. So it's actually very, very high for what the Canadiens are going to be looking at. And he not only says, it's funny, in the article, he actually lists it as that it wouldn't be surprised if one of them, but he says both of the picks he wouldn't be surprised if we're gone, and I'm raising my hands and saying absolutely go for it. Now I know there's going to be some more conservative Habs fans that are here, and that's fine. I mean you never know what's going to happen. Like whatever player is traded or 16th or 17th overall could really end up being a great player, but who knows. Now there's other things that are actually I don't know if they would be surprising to you, but they were a little bit surprising to me, where there's another name on his trade list that was quite shocking. At number 19, if you keep on scrolling down, I'll put it on the screen right now, Logan Mailloux is there, and I'm like, wow, okay, they are getting aggressive. This is a player that, to me, I thought the Montreal Canadiens were going to try to hold on to a little bit more. He does have some attributes that I personally really, really like. He's got a good amount of size. He stands 6'3". He is a right-hand shooting defenseman, which that's always going to add like 10% more value onto a defenseman if he can shoot right. And then also he has a high level of physicality. Now the issue with Mailloux though is he hasn't fully been able to put it together yet. Although I believe he's only 23 years old. I want to be clear with getting rid of a player like Logan Mailloux. There's some risk with this, no doubt about it though. Right? You have to understand that this isn't just a player. Like, it's funny what the Canadiens are doing, because I've kind of advocated for this for some teams, where trade a player when the stock is at an all-time high. There's a lot of these prospects that might not even actually turn out to be studs. So unless you believe you have a blue chip guy, it actually kind of makes sense to trade guys at a high. And Logan Mailloux has had a really good season in the American Hockey League. I think he's been really good for the Laval Rocket. I think also, he struggled in this series versus the Checkers, but I don't see them as, I see them as taking quite a risk getting rid of him, but I don't mind that would be my ultimate analysis. Like, I think that this could come back to bite them, but honestly, at the end of the day, man, you just got to go for it. And it's funny, when you actually look in the article from Chris Johnson, it says right at the bottom that this isn't a player that quote Montreal has to move, but the belief is around the league that this player could be had at the right price. That's essentially GM and insider talk to, hey, we're going to get rid of this player. What are you willing to offer us for him? Honestly, I think the Canadiens are being very smart here. They're looking at a player that probably has a higher level of perceived value than you think. They're using their first round selections, and they're being aggressive. Now, it depends on what kind of center that they try to get. Could it be like a cost controllable center? We saw actually Yanni Gourde re-sign today, so that's another free agent center. Actually, he signed for a really, really, really good, a good bargain, which I was surprised with. At 6 years, the state income tax thing in Tampa is another, a huge benefit for that team. So the Montreal Canadiens, and for that matter, a lot of other teams, if they want to solve their issue, are going to have to get very, very, very creative. Like, could they go after a Nelson? You know, could they really, really try to overpay like a Sam Bennett and try to convince him to come to Montreal? I'm not really sure. So at the end of the day, they are going to, I'm telling you right now, to Montreal Canadiens fans that are listening to this, I truly do think that if you get the center that you want, you are going to be genuinely shocked by what you're going to have to pay, because that is just the market right now. And it seriously, it's the market in terms of like what every team needs. If every team is looking for a centerman, you know, especially a lot of Canadian teams, you're sitting here and being like, so what do we do? They also have a lot more important things, well, just as important things to do when it comes to Lane Hutson. My preference is for the Habs to get it done quickly. I think that Hughes is right to say that he wants to get that done quickly. I wouldn't want that to get out of hand. I'm really interested how Lane Hutson and his agent approaches this. Like, what do they want? Do they want to just cash in as much dollars as they can? Obviously, I really hope for the Habs fans that he doesn't want that. Like, he's willing to take, you know, a more reasonable deal, because I think that in terms of point projection and puck moving, Lane Hutson is going to be a hell of a player for quite a while. And another point, you gotta support Ivan Demidov for next year. Like, the biggest thing that you want when it comes to the Montreal Canadiens is ensuring that Ivan Demidov has the support around him to have a hell of a season. If you put the right players around Ivan Demidov, he is going to be electric next year, I think. I watched him in short spurts, watched some of his KHL footage. He looks like he can play. He looks like he can think at an NHL level, and that's one of the biggest things with being an NHL player. Isn't necessarily the speed as much, although that matters. It's mattering to be able to think at an NHL level. Can he skate and think, and his hockey IQ at an NHL level? That's one of the biggest things. And I'm telling you, if they start supporting and building around these young players, they are going to be very, very successful, but they have to do it in the right way. Anyways, I am going to leave the video there, guys. If you could make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, I would greatly appreciate it, guys, and make sure to have a great day. Goodbye, guys.